and D.
Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. It's your boy TV, one of the co-hosts, aka TV on basketball, alongside Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
Bro, it's going good, man. We got a lot of actiony basketball taking place post trade deadline, post All-Star break. Now we locked in, bro. We talked about it last week. Playoffs is on the rise, and some teams are sneaking into the standings that we're gonna have to start giving some respect to, TV.
Yes, 100%. Because today is going to be a very, very juicy episode as we will be predicting who is going to be making the playoffs by the end of the season. We're going to be deciding basically our top tens, but also who we think are going to be coming out to play in tournament. So that's going to be a fire topic for sure. A lot to talk about there. And of course, we're going to have the other stuff like the quizzes, the draft. You already know what's going to go on. It's going to be another action packed episode. But before we start our podcast, we do have to plug our socials. Remember to follow our individual socials at the Knockdown J, at TV on Basketball on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. And that's for the Hit Your Free Throws links. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. If you're on any of the podcast networks, remember to subscribe, leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, remember to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also turn on the bell so you will not miss an episode. You know these are coming out every Wednesday, so be sure that you're on that by hitting on the notification bell. We really do appreciate it. Jay, we got that stuff out the way. Are you ready to get into some basketball talk?
Yeah, bro. It's about to get lit.
Yeah. It sucks, though, because we are going to talk about the on-the-court stuff. We definitely will. But we got to take it off the court because there have been some crazy news coming out of the NBA and just a crazy week for Ja Morant in general. And it's all dated back to last Wednesday when Ja Morant, there was some news that the 17-year-old that I think was like there was some like talked about it early on in the season where Ja had a confrontation with a 17-year-old. More details have come out, and now the 17-year-old is pressing charges after Ja Morant threatened him with a gun this past summer, as well as beat him up alongside some other guys. So John Morant's getting charged for that. Then a couple days later, Ja was on Instagram Live and was pulling out a gun on the Instagram Live in a Denver nightclub, which is pretty nuts. So now after all that, he's suspended 2 games. And after, I mean, like it said first it was going to be suspended 2 games, and now he said he's away from the team indefinitely. So all this news for the Memphis Grizzlies, really, really rough week, especially as well. Brendan Clark torn Achilles for the rest of the season as well. So rough week for the Memphis Grizzlies. But Jay, what were your thoughts on this whole John Morant situation? It's been a rough week for him.
I mean, that's the best way to summarize it, bro. It's been a rough week for Ja Morant. I mean, another thing that you have to also factor in, if you remember the Indiana Pacers related news in terms of some of Ja Morant's cronies, I guess, so to speak,
Yeah.
were kind of caught in a situation that involved guns and the Indiana Pacers team. That was something else that came up
Yeah.
at some point earlier on in the season. So this reoccurring theme kind of keeps kicking in. And the unfortunate part about it, right, is we always love this idea of rap culture and the NBA colliding in this productive way,
Yeah.
right? Because you always look at the relationship between both the players and the rappers, and you look at it as, oh, the rappers have always wanted to be hoopers, but they were able to succeed in this music industry, while the hoopers might want to be rappers, but they know that the basketball area is where they thrive in the most. And then when you see those things collide, that's usually one of those situations where you tend to want to glorify it because you tend to see it as some kind of equal balance. For example, Damian Lillard is a perfect example of that, right? This guy that is able to create an album, go out and be more of a top tier rapper, I guess, in terms of the NBA slash
Yeah.
athletic
Yeah.
aspect, right? But his game on the court speaks just as much volumes, and that is what, of course, he gets paid to do and is much more passionate about, despite the fact that the music is something that he also dabbles in. In this case, it feels like the rap culture aspect has overtaken the basketball to the point that now it is causing the rap culture aspect of things is starting to leak over to basketball to the point that it's taking basketball away from John Morant. In this sense, quite literally to an extent, because of course, like you mentioned beforehand, being out from the team indefinitely. Now he's not on the floor, and we're talking about not only the team's point guard, not only the team's best player, but we're talking about the team's image, the team's face of the franchise, is now one of those guys that in the bigger stretch of the NBA season is not going to be on the floor and is due to things that have nothing to do with actually playing basketball.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the thing is, I mean, you talked about the team, you talked about like his image, and for sure, this guy is not only a face of the Memphis Grizzlies. This guy's one of the like face in terms of NBA like entertainment, NBA basketball. He is one of the most exciting players to watch in the league. And the NBA trying to make a family-friendly environment, trying to make it so you can have like a family like watch these games, like these like role models in terms of like NBA players and stuff like that. So when you associate Ja Morant now with this whole thing with like with the whole thing with the gun, and it's now like with the stuff passing the summer, then it is not a good look for the league. And yes, John Moran did apologize. He did come out with a statement afterwards talking about saying that how like he takes full responsibility for his actions and this and that. But it's still not a good look for his image, for the NBA, for the Memphis Grizzlies in general. And the thing about like this whole thing with John Morant is that he like how do I want to put this? I don't think like because he's such a young player, I think he's around our age, right? He's basically like 22, 23 around there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like I think like this is like a case, and I said this on the TikTok a few days ago, where it's a case where I don't think he fully like grasped like his impact or his like influence in terms of social media or like in the basketball sphere. Because when you're someone who recently is about to like is lined up for a super max contract, someone who just won Most Improved, is a two-time All-Star at this point, you have a lot of influence in that type of sphere. So him like just like acting the way he is, yes, he's a very young player, and I think he can learn from this, but it's something that he has to has to understand comes with this lifestyle, comes with being in the NBA, especially with being a star player. You cannot be having these sort of incidents, and I think he can learn from this. He's still a super young player. I think that if he comes back on the court again and does his thing, we can like it'll help like forget about it. But also, I think he can like learn from just understanding like his place in terms of the NBA circle and like what he could do to be not only like a poster boy for the NBA, but a leader for his teammates, a role model for young people. And I think at this time it's a good time to heal. And I think like hopefully he comes out of it. I think he becomes like a better person. I just think it's a good thing that if anything he learned this a bit earlier in life, not like a bit later on when things like his like family starts to grow and stuff like that. It's a good thing to know now, and then like later on face the repercussions. But
Yeah.
but I don't know if you want to add to that, but I was gonna like ask you about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kyrie situation earlier this season where he reposted the thing about the documentary about how it was anti-Semitic against the Jewish population, and Kyrie Irving was like crazy, like like was crazy belittled. He was like being thrown on the bus for this whole thing, and not only did he have to apologize, which again John Moran did do, he had to donate $500,000 to an anti-Semitic organization, was dropped by Nike, and was basically like told to stay away from the Nets like indefinitely as well. So I don't know if you want to like say like this is coverable, but do you think like the repercussions against John Morant were fair?
I believe they are. I think at the end of the day, the one thing that makes this so much different, we talked about it a little bit off camera, was the idea that with the Kyrie situation, there was a targeted group involved in terms of where it seemed as though the actual actions were directed to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if there wasn't necessarily an intention or whatever the case may be, depending on how you view Kyrie's explanations for the situation.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, there was a group in mind or a group in question. And of course, in a more sensitive world, especially when factoring in social media's gravity, that was something that caused a lot of headway. And you have to also kind of pair the Kyrie Irving aspect of it with a lot of the Kanye West stuff that was taking place around the
Yeah.
same time frame with
Yeah.
similar repercussions and similar background in terms of the actual topic at hand, right?
Yeah.
Versus John Morant, again, the NBA, especially kind of since the dawn of the street ball slash Allen Iverson era of the NBA's transition, this again, this fusion between the NBA world and the rap world has been something that has been embraced by the NBA plenty. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where now this is just one of those incidents where it's kind of affected the NBA in a more negative sphere. But in most instances, that marriage between those two different cultures has actually been an uplifting way to help grow the game in a way, right?
Mhm.
Things like name drops and things of that nature are some of the most impeccable things, not just in music, but the players take that and they take the weight that comes with, wow, Jay-Z put my name in a song. Wow, Lil Wayne put my
Mhm.
name in a song. And it's one of those things that in a sense not only builds their own individual brand, but it also builds the NBA's brand as well. So I think it's one of those things where the biggest difference is who is affected by these actions. I feel like in the Kyrie sense, there was a greater topic to be discussed. There was a greater situation at hand that needed to be focused on as a repercussion of the things that took place with Kyrie. With this John Morant incident, it really more so hurts him and his family. It obviously does affect his team, but there's a lot more internal slash self-destruction. There's a lot more
Mhm.
self-destruction in this as opposed to a lot of other things that I guess you could associate with the way the Kyrie Irving thing went.
Yeah, I would have to agree with like most of your points there. Of course, it also affects kind of the 17-year-old, which is gonna like hope, but this thing is gonna like linger throughout
True.
not just season, but probably into the off season as well. But yeah, it's just like the demographic that each of these like situations both affect, and I think Kyrie, like whether you agree with his explanation or not, I think did at least a decent job trying to help recover from the situation by helping out the communities that he hurt and all that. So that was good. But John Morant again, and then also maybe like it also I don't know if you agree or not, but maybe it's also an age thing as well. Like John Miranda is still like, but he's still an adult, so maybe like again, it's a like a maybe a completely different situation. But at the end of the day, I think John Morant, like the good thing is they got to this right away. They got to this right away, and they're able to not let it linger. They're like, okay, we see what the problem was, especially with the Instagram live that happened a few days ago. We're able to see it. We're able to react. Now it's up to him to see if he could do the healing that he needs, and hopefully the Memphis Grizzlies can have him back um, before the playoff run because this is not like a team who's like just like who is like in the middle of the pack. Doesn't really matter where they finish. No, they're a top two seed in the Western Conference. Potentially going to be losing out to the Sacramento Kings soon because look at that, they're only one game behind. But they're still a bigger like goal in mind in terms of this season. So hopefully John Morant can actually learn from those actions, recover, and like come back and be the John Morant that the Grizzlies do need come playoff time. Let's move on to the next topic. Let's take this back on the court. We thought like, but this is what it's all about, man. Hit your free throws, stay on the court. Let's get back onto the court as we will be discussing our NBA standings predictions. So we have about what 20 games, even less than 20 games at this point. We have like
Mhm.
almost only just 15 games left in the season. The standings are really starting to form out, and me and Jay are gonna be going through each conference and predicting who is gonna be basically in the top 10, but basically who we think are gonna be the 8 playoff teams that are gonna be um that and the order of which they're going to be coming in. So we have about 3 more weeks left in the season. So I think it's a great time to make predictions. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start in the East or the West?
Let's start in the East. I just feel like we might be able to knock those out a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and get the easy one out the way.
Let's get the easy ones out the way. Let's start with the top three because I think the top three are pretty common between the two of us. It just
Mhm.
depends on the order. So who do you have as your number? Let's go by those like 3 teams at a time. So 1, 2, 3. Who do you got in those 3 positions?
I think I'm gonna keep it exactly the way it's set up in the standings right now. I'm gonna go with Milwaukee at 1, Boston at 2, and I'm gonna keep Philly at 3.
I have it the exact same way. Milwaukee 1, Boston 2, Philly 3. I think with the Boston Celtics, especially if you've seen like over like they were had number one for like a good chunk of the season now in the East after, but then the Bucks went on what like a 16, 17 game winning streak,
Yeah.
like which was absolutely nuts. But I think like the reason I think that Boston especially is not going to take back the number one spot is they always feel like their offense is going to be there, but they always make it a bit difficult themselves because there's been like so many instances, especially the last couple of weeks, where they had a big lead. They've had massive, massive leads, but then they start to falter in the defensive end. They get a bit lazy and they allow teams to get back in it. And I think that's something, especially at the end of this regular season, where they understand that it's not really all about getting the number one seed. They just want to be good for the playoffs. I think there's going to be just some like lapse of judgments. And now that the Bucks are finally figuring it out, because they're still are going to be playing hard. They still want to have Chris Middleton as healthy as possible come playoff time. They need to get him back into the groove of things. So I think there's going to be a bit more, like especially on the effort end for the Milwaukee Bucks to maintain the number one seed. Whereas for the Celtics, I think they're confident in their team's ability. And I think they're already like a good enough, like a good ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers that they're probably not going to fall all the way down to three. So I think the way it's set up right now, I do believe that those three are going to stay the way they are.
Yeah, I think your point about the Milwaukee Bucks is a huge one when you talk about the energy and effort level, because I think it's a good point when you focus on the idea of what do they have at stake for the rest of the regular season as opposed to other teams sitting at the top of the conference. When you're at the top of the conference, it's now decision making as opposed while focusing on business decisions as opposed to what you just as opposed to the decisions you would make on a night to night basis earlier in the season. When you're late, when you are this late into the year, you are making calls that are meant to project more towards what your plans are for the postseason. And I think the good thing you made a note of in terms of Milwaukee is yes, they have been in playoff atmospheres plenty. They have arguably one of the best, not just players in the NBA, but one of the better playoff performers in the NBA in terms of what we've been able to see Giannis Antetokounmpo do at a high level. But the reintegration of Chris Middleton is huge. The integration of Jay Crowder still is a big one. Being able to see Brook Lopez kind of reinvigorate himself after a very hot start to the season in terms of what he was doing, especially on the defensive end, I think is going to be really important for them because their calling card during this postseason is going to be how well they can defend. I think at the end of the day, the Milwaukee Bucks will go as far as their defense carries them when it comes to the postseason. Because I think if you look across the board, I feel like you can make a decent argument that every team that's gonna make the postseason can score the basketball at a high clip. I think every team that makes the postseason, more specifically in the Eastern Conference, though, every team in the Eastern Conference has the capability to score at a high clip. The question will be which teams will be able to go out and guard, because in a 7 game series, that is going to be what ends up kind of being the equalizer. TV, we've seen it all season long of the crazy 70 plus point games, the outbursts by different teams from a 3 point shooting standpoint.
Yeah.
The numbers are as high as they've ever been, but in the slowed down version, the slow down, more physical version of the NBA that is the playoffs, defense is going to be the equalizer that ends up making teams either look better or
Mm-hmm.
much worse. And I think that Milwaukee is one of those teams that has the kind of personnel that could end up making it where they have a defense that makes them look more better, even better,
Better,
excuse me,
yeah.
than they already do.
Yeah. Number three in defensive rating. Their offense is still kind of middle of the pack at 16th, but you know when it comes down to it, Giannis is going to give you 30 a night. You know that Drew's going to, especially the way he's been playing this season, he's going to give you like around 20 a night. It's just like you mentioned, the reintegrate, like we talked about, the reintegration of Chris Middleton, who's still like finding his footing, only averaging 13 points a game so far this season, because they need the best version of him if they want to go far. They need to make sure that he is back to close to his like NBA championship self. Maybe it doesn't mean being the second option anymore because it seems like Drew Holiday has taken over that spot. But we need to see a better version of Chris Middleton, and he has about 15 games to figure it out. In terms of 76ers, it's like a weird thing for them because they're 4.5 games behind number one, 3 games behind the Celtics, and also 2.5 games like ahead of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Do you think there's any chance that they move from number three, or do you feel like they're just kind of like stuck in that spot?
I think that Philly wants to be in three. I think
Yeah.
that Philly wants to be in three. I think they would do themselves a favor to prioritize three.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are in a really good spot if they can avoid certain matchups in the Eastern Conference. And I think that specifically being in that third spot with the way that the East is set up, I think is going to really benefit them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only team that truly stands in their way really is Cleveland to me. I think that New York is screaming right behind everybody in terms of that top five.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of who's going to end up with the top three seed, I do think it is going to end up being a bounce back between the 76ers and Cleveland. And I think that Philly is just going to value it a lot more. I think they should value it a lot more.
Should they though? Because the second their history with the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. You know that the Boston Celtics absolutely own the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, do you think it'll come to a point where, say if it's like a game left in the season, like 1 or 2 games left, the Cleveland Cavaliers are right there on their heels.
Mhm.
Do you see them dropping a game if they see, you know what? Boston's coming in the second round. I don't know if we want to put our guys through that. Maybe we wait to the conference finals, or do you think it's just something, you know what? Let's face it head on. Let's try and like get it like over with, or like I don't know.
I think you make a good point there, just because I think based on the way things are set up, if a game is the difference between if a game ends up being the big decision, right? There's a pathway where for Philly, they would end up facing a team like the New York Knicks in the first round and then
Yeah,
catching maybe Milwaukee next. And I think you make a great point that maybe in a 7 game series against Milwaukee, not only would that be a crazy series, but
yeah,
for Philly, that actually might be more beneficial to them in terms of a matchup perspective
yeah,
versus having to take on Boston, for example, like you mentioned too. So I think if it comes down to a business decision of one game, then maybe you have to ask yourself that question. But I think as things are currently set up and the fact that they are one of the better teams over the last 10 games or so, they are going to be one of those teams that I think, I'm sorry, but Philly has just seen so much go wrong
yeah.
in the postseason that I don't think they can allow themselves to go into the playoffs without significant momentum.
I like that point. Like you gotta like ride it, like you have to like ride it hot, I guess, with the Philadelphia 76ers. Like if something's going good, you kind of have to ride that wave. And I think like going into the playoffs, like you don't want to be like fiddling around too much. Know what you are, just try to be the best team you could be. Sure, you might face Boston in the second round, and we've known the history between them and Boston, where Boston absolutely destroyed them. But it's good to have that with the type of momentum that potentially, especially because the first round matchup might be a lot easier. Moving on, let's go on to number 4 to 6 in the Eastern Conference. Things can change. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets seem firmly in that position, but now with the way that their team is set up, we'll see if we keep them in the top 6. But Jay, who do you have at number 4, 5, and 6?
All right. So for 4, 5, and 6, I have Cleveland still at 4.
Yeah,
I I'm gonna keep the Knicks at 5, bro.
yeah,
I think the Knicks want to see Cleveland round one. I think that Knicks fans are not ready to just see Donovan Mitchell, who could have been on
yeah,
their team in a
yeah,
7 game series. But I think that's the very fuel, that
yeah.
the battery in their back that is actually gonna make it where they are going to look forward to a 7 game series with
Hmm.
the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm gonna go with them at 5, bro. This might be an insane choice. I'm gonna be real with you. This might be an insane choice, but I think that the Atlanta Hawks are gonna bump up from that 8 spot. And I think the Nets are just going to continue to fall into this demise where I think they are going to catch some dubs here and there,
Hmm.
but I think that they're gonna fall. I think they're gonna take a significant hit. I'm gonna take Atlanta to jump up to 6.
Interesting. That's really interesting because they're 4 games behind right now. So in these 15 games, you kind of expected the Atlanta Hawks to kind of go on some like little run to give them some momentum going into the offseason to the postseason.
Yeah, man. I think one of the things that we have to take into consideration with the Hawks is it seems like they respond very well to drastic circumstances. If you've
Mhm.
looked over the last 2 or 3 seasons, it seems like it's always taken 1 or 2 very significant pokes and prods at this team for them to truly get a grasp of what they need to do in order to be a real threat in the Eastern Conference. I think that bringing in Quinn Snyder is going to be big in terms of reintegrating a more 3 point heavy, 3 point efficient offense to this team, a more modern look to this team, something that Nate
Yeah.
McMillan kind of struggled with in terms of being able to maximize the construction of the roster they have, which granted isn't full of 3 point shooters like it was a season ago, but you still have Trae Young on the team. So to be one of the bottom 5 teams in terms of 3 point attempts and 3 point efficiency, that's not good for a team that has their lead superstar as one of the better 3 point shooting guys in the NBA.
Yeah.
I just think that the addition of Quinn Snyder, along with the fact that honestly, this season is super imperative for the Hawks because after this season, DeJounte Murray is only signed for 1 more year. Obviously, circumstances in regards to the future of Trae Young is huge in terms of what they do this postseason and determining what they're able to do, or shoot, what he's able to do moving forward in terms of where he wants to position himself. So I think Atlanta has to play with a certain level of energy and urgency. And I think that getting a new head coach, although I believe it is much later than they should have done,
Yeah.
I think the bringing in of Quinn Snyder will help them significantly in terms of making a push like this. They got to get mature quick, but I think that this might be just the push they need.
Yeah, 18 games left, 4 games behind. It's definitely possible, especially because the Brooklyn Nets are not like the best looking team right now. So yeah, very, very interesting choice there. In terms of my 4, 5, 6, I'm actually gonna make it a little bit different. I'm gonna put the Knicks at number 4. I think they're really going like they're really like ending off the season really strongly. 9 game winning streak right now. Again, they still haven't lost with Josh Hart on their team. He's been a pretty big part of it. Obviously, it's not just because of him, because freaking Julius Randle is having a phenomenal bounce back year. Jalen Brunson having a phenomenal year as well. I just think that the New York Knicks just have this kind of like new energy found in them, and they just want to like show people, like especially now they're only 1 game behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. They want to show these like the teams that look, we are again, same thing when you talked about the Philadelphia 76ers. They want to go into the playoffs with as much momentum as possible, and I think that between them and the Cleveland Cavaliers have kind of slipped a little bit, especially over these last couple of weeks or so. The New York Knicks are rolling right now, and I think that continues on until the end of the season. Maybe not the winning streak, but I think the winning does continue. I think they're going to jump Cleveland, which means I have Cleveland at number 5, which is I don't think will be too bad. Maybe Donovan Mitchell plays better if there's a game 7 in MSG. Who knows? But that's going to happen. And then for number 6, I do have the Brooklyn Nets dropping out, but I'm going to be a bit more. I'm going to go with the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat do jump up a little bit. I think that Jimmy Butler, when he said a couple weeks ago, where it's like, look, we need to step up and we have to step out now. Out of all the players in this league, Jimmy Butler does not want to play a play-in game. Jimmy Butler does not want to be in a play-in game, and I think that means he's going to elevate his game for the remainder of the season. Bam Adebayo has had a fantastic end to the year. But really, what's going to determine what's going to determine for going forward with the Miami Heat is whether Kyle Lowry is healthy or not. We have no idea what's happening with him. He has been like missing game after game, so we really don't know. I mean, he's out again today. I mean, as of recording, he's out because of a knee injury, and it was a back injury, so I don't really know what's happening with him. But I do believe the Miami Heat, a solid lineup still. They still got Eric Spoelstra, and I think with the Brooklyn Nets like starting to drop, I think that they're the one team where they're going to be consistently good for the rest of the year. They're only 2.5 games behind. I think that they have at least just enough to just overtake that 6 seed. And like I said, they don't want to be seeing the play-in because anything can happen to play-in. And Jimmy Butler does, in terms of like playing those extra games, we know that Jimmy Butler doesn't really want to do that. So I have the Miami Heat there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I think. Well, I want to touch on the Knicks for a second. I think the Knicks are the wild card of the Eastern Conference, bro.
Yeah.
I think they are just in an insane spot because of the fact that they've been playing so well. I think it's so easy to rag on, oh, Julius Randle's their best player, or oh, Jalen Brunson is their best player, this, that, and the third. But TV, I think one of the most important things is just like Tom Thibodeau, despite the fact that he's associated with many as this hard-nosed old school coach, there has been significant adjustments to this season that we are seeing from Tom Thibodeau from a coaching perspective that is really helping this team develop in a much needed way in order for them to be a real team in the postseason. A couple of things that were super notable to me. They're 12th in points per game, 8th in opponents' points per game. They're 5th in offensive rating this season. And I think they're one of the top 10. Yeah, they're literally 8th in 3-point attempts per game this season. Mm-hmm. I think those are all things that are super huge. Now, the unfortunate thing is that this is a very aggressive defensive team that lets lets a lot of three balls go. That's one of the things. I think they're bottom 5 in terms of allowing 3-pointers per game. That's going to be something you have to be very cognitive of, especially if they for some reason end up dropping in the standings and end up seeing a team like the Boston Celtics, for example. That's a team that's a good representation of a team the Knicks probably really do not want to see. I think any team that shoots the three ball at a very high clip, I think even Milwaukee falls into this category as well to an extent. Those are the teams that the Knicks do not want to be positioned next to. That's why I also think that the series against Cleveland actually might be a little bit more even than people even want to consider it, because I think that they have a tit for tat from an offensive standpoint. And I think that the defensive prowess of both teams makes it where things are going to be really interesting in a series like that, where everybody's game planning for each other. Wild card of the year gotta be Julius Randle, because the last time we saw that boy in the postseason, my dude wet the bed worse than an infant. But I'm saying all of that to say that I think the New York Knicks have positioned themselves in a really solid way where they could be a really scary team in the postseason. And then the other team that I did want to talk about as well was the Miami Heat. And TV, I'm going to say this, and maybe it's for the TikTok clips. I'm not really sure yet, but I'm going to say it as blunt as possible, and I'm going to hope that I have as much conviction behind it as I felt when I was thinking about this earlier. TV, Kyle Lowry's cooked, bro. Kyle Lowry is cooked, my guy.
Oh my
The
goodness.
Miami Heat, when they made that signing, it looked like one of the better offseason acquisitions they could have made. Now, unfortunately, it did require some sign and trade stuff that involves sending Precious Achiuwa, who I think is a very young, solid three-point shooter and at the big man position for the Toronto Raptors. But my thing is, when you look at the circumstances for what Kyle Lowry was supposed to bring and his lack of availability on the floor, dude, it's a race between him and Chris Paul for that cliff, bro. I'm gonna be real. Like, it's tough out here for these older point guards to really be able to maintain health and be effective, be effective and actively engaged in the success of their teams. And dude, the lack of availability for Kyle Lowry in particular really, really hurts this team, because if they just had a guy who could stir the drink offensively on a consistent night-to-night basis, I think it would really help them settle down more into what they have offensively with the pieces on their team. But Kyle Lowry just cannot seem to stay on the floor, bro. And it sucks because, unfortunately, dude, we're going to look back at that, and that Kyle Lowry exchange is going to look like one of the worst trades in the last 3 to 4 years, bro.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be more because of his lack of availability than, he's just not good anymore.
Yeah.
He's cooked though, man. I think he's done.
What sucks, I mean, it has a lot to do with injuries. He has missed a good chunk of games over the past 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the playoffs, and if he is available for the playoffs, he is going to be a massive part of like whether the Miami Heat are able to go far or not. The thing is, that is always a question because of his availability. And you hate to see it, man. One of the most beloved Toronto Raptors in their franchise's history, in my opinion, the greatest Raptor of all time. And then I hear clips now of Miami Heat players say, like Miami Heat fans saying that he's the most hated player in franchise history. I see these clips on TikTok of them of like Heat fans making fun of Kyle, and it hurts my soul. It absolutely does hurt my soul. But I think he's still going to bounce back. I mean, a big part of this too. I mean, who wants to see like someone like miss this many games and get paid $30 million a year?
Exactly. and the toughest part, see, that's a great point when you think about the fact that it's the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
This is the team that is notoriously known for having the most insane capologists in the world in terms of creating flexibility on their team. Here you call out 30 million, already regretting it. Duncan Robinson, which might easily be the worst contract in the NBA. And then you have the extension for Tyler Hero, which people are already regretting him getting, just out of the fact that people believe that his ceiling is probably the Jordan Poole type. And guess what? The Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, Jordan Clarkson type is a very serviceable player in the NBA. that can fizzle out very quickly because there's a ton of guys who come in the league as a shooting guard position that can fill up the stat sheet as a quick scorer too. So it becomes this redundant position that kind of fits like the running back position in the NFL, where it's like, why would I pay this guy 20 plus million a year when I can just go get a kid out of college who wants to fill it up and comes in and has an instant impact as an offensive player, because that tends to be the first thing that translates for most guys is putting the ball in the basket.
Mhm.
So the fact that and that's not even counting the fact that Jimmy Butler is one of those guys
Yeah.
that is only getting older despite being their best player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
This Miami Heat team might have the worst cap sheet in the NBA,
Yeah.
despite the fact that the talent on paper says they should be one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah. It, crazy for the Miami Heat. It's just, again, for them to at least what really helps them here is the fact that the Brooklyn Nets did gut their team. So that means the Brooklyn Nets do have a chance to slip. But in terms of the playoff time, if one or two of those guys get injured, because let's be honest, we thought they had a deep team coming to this year because of the amount of like steals they got last year. It's not looking as deep anymore. Max Strus having a kind of a tough year, Gabe Vincent having a tough year. There's a lot of question marks with this Miami Heat team, and I do not know if they're going to be able to fulfill anything past the first round. I don't know. But we got the top six down. We have play-in teams to talk about. Let's see who we got from number 7 to 10. I'm gonna ask you for your 4 teams, and after we're gonna talk about who you think is gonna make it out of those 4 teams out of the play-in. But Jay, who do you got from 7 to 10?
So for my 7 to 10 in the Eastern Conference, I am going to go with, I believe the 7 team is going to be, I think the Miami Heat will
Okay.
move to 7. I'm going to put the Brooklyn Nets at 8 because I feel as though even though they're going to drop off, they are just still too good to
Yeah.
completely just tank off. And we also
Yeah.
know that their draft capital situation also kind of makes it where they're not super incentivized to tank this back into the season and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So I don't think they're just going to completely fall off the face of the earth to the point of not being in real playoff contention, but I do see them being a team that ends up tailing off at this portion of the season. Um, and then at 9, I have your Toronto Raptors at 9.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, and then that last spot. Man, I'm gonna say it with my chest. I got the Bulls at 10, bro. I'm gonna say it with my chest. We're only a game back of 10 behind the Wizards. We're in a weird situation with them, but I think that we look, man, we gotta make the playoffs, bro. We gotta make the playoffs, bro. I'm taking the Bulls at 10. I don't know if we'll make that top 8. We'll talk about that in a second. You give me a second to put that one together. But in terms of at least making the play-in, we gotta make the play-in as a better chance than the Wizards or the Pacers. Come on, man.
Yeah. The number 10 spot is tough, but I will give you my 7 to 10 right now. Number 7, I'm kind of on you. I don't think the Brooklyn Nets are going to drop off that off. And look, they're not a horrible team. They're not a horrible team. So I do have them at the 7th position. I still think they're going to be there. Number 8, it was a toss-up between the Raptors and the Hawks. Maybe a homer pick. I think the Raptors are gonna close it out a little bit better. The addition of Jakob Poeltl has been fantastic. The offense, but Jakob Poeltl, great, and I think that he's going to be able to make a huge impact in order for us to at least avoid a second play-in game. Number 9, that means I have the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know, man. That whole Trae Young situation is kind of iffy with me, like with them, like him in a relationship with the rest of the team. Yes, they brought in Quinn Snyder, but I do have my questions about Trae Young's character and also just like his ability to lead a team. And as for number 10, call me a hater. I have the Wizards making the 10th spot.
Oh,
Wizards.
TV. Come on, man.
I have the Wizards.
Oh, that's
Oh, I
brutal.
don't look, man. It's just between the Bulls and the Wizards, you're really having a coin toss. You have it could really go
Yeah.
either way with either of this team. But I think with the Washington Wizards, I think you're just slightly deeper. I like the way their bench is set up more. Maybe that's because I've just watched them the last 2 games versus the Raptors, but I do like the benching it better than the Bulls. It's literally a toss up, and to be honest, I don't think either. Like we're gonna talk about, I don't know if either of these teams are gonna actually even make it to the top 8. But I do have the Wizards coming at number 10. I don't know, man. I think that the Bulls Yes, their defense has improved. I think since June 5th, they're like the top 5 defense in the league. But man, it feels like the Bulls, like whenever they start to turn a corner, everything just kind of just falls down for them, and that's been kind of the story of their season, which is highly unfortunate. If you don't have any other thoughts, let me hear what you got for the final two. But if you have any additional thoughts, you can add them here.
I'm gonna just do my final two
Yeah,
teams. I think. Oh man, I think the final two teams that end up making the postseason are going to be Miami and Toronto. I think they're gonna make it.
Miami and
I
Toronto.
already kind of went above my, I've kind of already punched above my weight by saying that I think Atlanta's going to jump all the way to 6.
Yeah,
But I think Miami, they just know if they make the postseason, oh, it's over. Like in terms of like, if they make the postseason, they don't mind who they see. Because
yeah,
especially if they make it as a 7 or an 8, they have decent history with both of these teams being the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. They
yeah,
have decent history between both of those teams in the last 2 to 3 years, which means they don't fear either one of these teams, regardless of how their current situation looks. So
yeah,
I think Miami, they're just worried about getting in. If they can
yeah.
get in, then
It's
I
fair
think
game,
they're
fair game.
yeah. I think it's fair game. That's a great point. And then for Toronto, man, I just think at the end of the day, they made the swing, or I guess the lack of a swing, so to speak, at the trade deadline with the belief that they are going to be a team that can make a strong push for the postseason and be scary in a first round matchup. They've been playing some of the best basketball in the Eastern Conference. If you look among the teams that have if you look at the record among teams over the last 10 games, they are tied for the second best record in the Eastern Conference with the Philadelphia 76ers at 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
They're a team that just is starting to make a little bit more sense and play with a little bit more urgency. The Jakob addition has actually had exactly the kind of effect we thought it would have,
Yeah,
which again kind of makes it where it's like, dang, you wish they would have done this a lot sooner so that they could
yeah,
kind of really formulate what this team needs to look like.
yeah,
And again, I hate to focus on storylines as part of a reason why a team should make the postseason. But the Toronto Raptors, we've talked about this on a past podcast, they have a ton of questions to answer this offseason. Their push towards the playoffs this year in a way solves a lot of those problems
yeah,
depending on how they play, because
yeah,
it'll give them a very strong indication of whether or not it's good to throw money at Fred VanVleet. Is OG Anunoby a guy that will have significant trade value this offseason after seeing how he performs on the way to and maybe in a postseason setting? These are the different kind of things that are going to really matter in terms of formulating a plan for Toronto after this season is over. Making the postseason should still be a high top tier priority on their list of things to do on the back half of the season, especially when you factor in their lack of moves at the deadline.
yeah. I do like. It's kind of like the way I agree with you in a sense. There, it's kind of like the Dallas Mavericks, where you guys, except in the sense where they made a move for Kyrie, you made the lack of moves. They have to show that these guys or as Raptor fans like to call them, like Messiah's children. They like they have to prove their worth at this point, and to
Yeah.
not only to the team but to future suitors who want to pick them up in the off season, or if they're gonna try to pick them up by trade. This is where they have to show out, and I think them making the playoffs after a rough start is a good indication of that. And I think they're gonna have this just extra motivation to do so, because in my final teams that are gonna make it, I do have the Toronto Raptors as well. I do believe so. I think they're actually going to be in the 8th seed. I think they're going to finish in the 7th seed. And for the 8th seed, give me the Atlanta Hawks. Give me the Atlanta Hawks. I think that the Brooklyn Nets are actually going to put like a good fight against both teams. But I think at the end of the day, you have the Raptors who have a better coach, who just have like better playoff experiences compared to the Nets team. I think they're going to make it in. And then for the Atlanta Hawks, when you put in a one-game situation, Trae Young, anything could happen with him, and I think that he has the ability to just propel the Hawks to at least a playoff spot. So I think those two teams are going to make it. Unfortunately for Brooklyn, they are not. And then the Wizards, I swear they've been in the play-in a couple times and they've got absolutely destroyed a couple times. So yeah, so I think that's the case. So I have the Raptors and the Hawks making it. Yeah, they're gonna have those two teams. Um, anything else, or should we move over to the West?
Time to go to the West, man. This is where things get real difficult. Holy cow.
This is where, especially in the play-in tournament is gonna be tough in the West. Oh my goodness. But let's move on to the top three. I think we both have a clear indication who's going to finish number one in the West, but it's going to be interesting to see who you have after 2 and 3 because especially with the Grizzlies situation right now. But I'm going to throw it over to you. Who do you have in your top three?
All right. In the top three in the Western Conference, I have the Denver Nuggets,
Yeah.
the Sacramento Kings,
Yeah.
and the Phoenix Suns.
I have the exact same three. Go ahead.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I have the Denver Nuggets as well at number one. They're like, what, 5 games? I think 5 or 6.5 games. They're 6.5 games ahead of number two. They have the number seed lockup unless they completely falter in the end of the season, which they're probably not going to be. I'm 99% sure of that. They're not going to fall out of the number one seed. The Kings are interesting because now with the whole John Morant thing, now that they have Brandon Clark, and now with Dylan Brooks missing some games, the Kings are in prime position to go from not making the playoffs, not making the play-in the last 18 years to becoming the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. I don't know if you remember the script, Jay.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
know.
I
I don't know.
remember the script, TV. Yes,
It's
sir.
the stars are lining up, and I think the Kings. I think the Kings have had a great season. I think it's a great way to culminate it. They've had some tough games. I mean, they've faced a lot of adversity, especially since the All-Star break. And what they've shown to me is that they're able to face adversity, face these kind of like these close games, these tough challenges against the Western Conference, and be able to fight back. This is not a Kings team of the last 18 years. No, this team fights hard. They don't care who's in front of them, and they're going to play a tough game no matter who they face. They got 2 NBA caliber players, potentially an all NBA player, and Domantas Sabonis as well. So I think that they've been a great regular season team. I think that's not going to slow down. Whereas the Memphis Grizzlies, I do think it's going to slow down. And then again, number 3, the Phoenix Suns. I mean, we've seen the last couple of games. They haven't played perfect basketball with Kevin Durant, but they have Kevin Durant, and that's really all that matters. You have Devin Booker playing at an absolute high level, and then you have Kevin Durant, where whatever, like, one of the best plays in basketball is just give Kevin Durant the basketball and just let him get whatever shot he wants because he can. And I think that at the end of the season, they want to build a chemistry like we were talking about with the Milwaukee Bucks earlier on. They're still trying to build that chemistry. They're still trying to figure out what the best version of this team looks like. And they have 15 or so games to figure it out for the Phoenix Suns. And I think that they're going to do really well because Kevin Durant is one of those players. I mean, we talk about when players move, oh, the system's going to change, this is going to change. But Kevin Durant, you can plug him in and out of any system in the NBA. He's still going to give you 30 a night. It does not matter, and he'll fit in perfectly just because he's one of the best players in the league. Any extra thoughts?
Bro,
Yeah.
the silence is just because Kevin Durant is a different animal,
He's
bro.
different. He is different.
We talked about it when the trade happened, bro.
Yeah.
He is just a game breaker in the Western Conference because when you throw him in there on a Phoenix Suns team, I talked about this on my podcast earlier today. When you drop him into this Phoenix Suns team, he just defines everybody's role around him in a way that creates such an easier time for everyone. D Book is going for 30 plus because all he has to do is go out and score.
Yeah.
Chris Paul doesn't have to have the same offensive prowess he had last year. He can just go out and get 7 to 10 assists and make sure he's got people set up properly. DeAndre Ayton, if that dude can average 15 and 15, just grab boards and be effective and be at least a deterrent at the rim. Kevin Durant has been so good defensively this year, borderline all defensive candidate before the injury, by the way. The rim defense that he provides along with a guy in DeAndre Ayton, who's not known as a big-time shot blocker or anything, but definitely can be a hindrance in the painted area. It defines the roles for those guys. And then that allows guys like Torrey Craig to go out and just shoot threes and defend. It allows guys like Landry Shamet to get very, very solid looks. Cameron Payne to just operate at the top of the key as a point guard. TJ Warren, I think, is going to be a guy who's going to be called upon sometimes to really help with the scoring aspect when Kevin Durant comes up off the floor to get his breather, or same thing with Devin Booker or something of that nature. He's going to be a guy to help kind of keep the bleeding, at bay in situations where those guys come off the floor from a scoring standpoint. Inserting Kevin Durant allows them to be able to just fit. Just fit however it is that they need to, as opposed to having to play these secondary positions or have these secondary roles in mind that end up kind of skewing the functionality of this team. Kevin Durant just universally is just like this glue that makes any team work, and he does it while seamlessly stepping in to different roster after different roster. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And he has been not only like probably their best player on the court at times. I mean, it's either him or Book. You can really take your choice. But extremely, extremely efficient. Like he's
Oh
been
my
over,
god.
I think he's like 60, 70% over these last like couple games that he's been playing.
Mm-hmm.
He's just an amazing player. My only concern with him though, and when I've been watching the couple games that he's been playing, they just DeAndre Ayton. I mean, I know like he's had a bad like relationship with the Suns, but they do not give him the ball in the paint whatsoever. Like he's had so many opportunities where he has like a little guy on him, he's asking for the ball, and they would rather and Torrey Craig would rather hit a 25-foot 3-pointer than go to him. I mean, give him the ball. If you want, I know you have KD, you got Devin Booker, all that, but if you want to have a good playoff run, let's try to get everyone happy. We don't want another DeAndre Ayton situation happening in Game 7 of the Mavs series last year. Like, give him the ball. He's actually like trying on the defensive end too. You just give him the ball a couple of times and not have him like I think it was like the last game when they beat the Dallas Mavericks. He had like 5 or 6 shot attempts in the first 6 minutes of the game, and I was like, okay, they're getting DeAndre Ayton involved. 0 shot attempts until the final 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Until the final 2 minutes of the game. So they just got to get him more involved. And I think that everything will like kind of like fall into place more for the Phoenix Suns. But I do believe, look, they have KD, they got Devin Booker. They're good. That just wins games. That just wins games, and I think that'll get them up to the 3rd seed. Moving on to 4 to 6. That means the teams that are not going to be in the play-in. It's going to be kind of tough because especially when you go like honestly from 5 to 8, anyone could be in those like in those positions. So Jay, who would you got from 4 to 6?
All right, from 4 to 6, I have the Memphis Grizzlies because their depth is just too good for them to completely fall off the earth with Ja Morant indefinitely out. I have the Golden State Warriors at 5 because they have been talking very spicy. They have Stephen Curry back, and hopefully this Andrew Wiggins situation will solve itself. Of course, personal reasons is one of those things that doesn't really have as even of a timetable as an injury does. But hopefully that'll be something that solves itself in this latter portion of the season where they are making a very tough push. And then at 6, I got the Dallas Mavericks, man. I think at the end of the day, the talent is definitely there. I think that, again, if my storybook NBA script first round series is going to happen, I also need the Dallas Mavericks to end up at 6
Yes.
because that's the only way that we get the Dallas Mavericks versus Phoenix Suns in the first round matchup. So to stick with the NBA script, I definitely think that the Mavs will have to be in that 6th spot. And I do know that they're 2-4 in these first couple of games with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic paired together. But I think that as they continue to put things together over the next couple of games, I think they're going to be able to work it out. Right now, you're talking about 2 of the best fourth quarter scorers playing next to each other, trying to figure out what closing next to each other looks like. And that's the thing that's been hurting the most during these first 6 games, of course, TV, is their inability to close games. And that's more based off decision making. And he's got the ball. It's a he got it, your turn, a my turn, your turn situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just working out the kinks for it. And I think that with a couple more games to kind of get things under their belt, they're going to be able to figure that out. So Grizzlies, Warriors, Mavericks as the next 3.
Yeah, I have Grizzlies and Warriors 4 and 5. I do agree with you there. Number 6 was kind of tough. It was between 3 teams for me: the Mavs, the Timberwolves, and the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I do agree with you. I am going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. I think in terms of like the question marks between them and the Clippers, I think theirs is a bit more easier to like figure out because Kyrie and Luka, it's not like both of these guys like need the ball at all. Like it's not like they like the problem is I need the ball more or I need the ball more between the two. It's like, okay, we're giving the ball to each other. Just one of us has to kind of like
exactly.
one of us just kind of has to kind of take the lead here, whether it's Luka, whether it's Kyrie. And either way, it's not going to be a bad decision for the Dallas Mavericks. I just think that they have the ability, especially like offensively, to kind of like take over games more, and I think just be able to even like outscore teams for the remainder of the regular season. So, I mean, it only like between 5 to 8, it only separated by 1 game. So again, anything can change, but I do believe the Kyrie Luka duo will do just slightly enough in order to get into the 6th seed. But Jay, I do want to talk about the Golden State Warriors too, because look, are they just as dangerous as they were last year, even with like all these question marks, with the Andrew Wiggins, with the Steph Curry question marks? Do you think they're still just as dangerous as a number 5 seed? I mean, this is a definitely different script than they had last year.
This is the truth about the Golden State Warriors, and I think that most people have had this belief for most of the year. When they are healthy, they are just one of the most dangerous teams in the league. I think it just comes down to that. Draymond Green has definitely still been super effective on the
Yep.
defensive end so far this year. If they can get GP2 back on the floor, being able to reacquire him via trade was probably a super big thing for them in terms of being able to reinvigorate their defense on the perimeter. Having Dante DiVincenzo, who has sneakily had a very solid year this season, is big for them as well. Steph Curry being back on the floor is big for them because they need to be able to have that offensive creation. I think the big guy you have to watch out for is Jordan Poole, man. He's had a very, very quiet year. It might not feel like it because the highlights are still there, the big games are still there in spurts, but I just don't feel like we feel the impact of Jordan Poole in the
Yeah.
ways we felt last season from an offensive standpoint. And I think that's just going to be super important because Jordan Poole, if you remember last postseason, man, Jordan Poole was a game 1 through 3 demon. Like
Oh
to kick
yeah.
series off, Jordan Poole was like one of those things that like I think just started to tally up where it seemed like series after series, Jordan Poole would hit the ground running to start the series off. Now, of course, he would tail off towards the back end, and that's kind of when the Curry, Klay Thompson slash Curry, Andrew Wiggins duo would kick in and kind of help keep things settled. But you need Jordan Poole to be clicking, man, because again, last season, he was huge for them in those first couple of games of each series. I remember specifically those first 2 or 3 games of that Denver Nuggets series was like the Jordan Poole party announcement for real in terms of him just
Yeah.
really making a name for himself in similar ways that we saw Tyler Hero do in the bubble. That was kind of Jordan Poole's area, to kind of make a space for himself in the NBA. I think he has to be able to bring that again this postseason if they want to be super dangerous. We know Steph still has MVP caliber performances in him. Klay Thompson is proving week in and week out that he's still got a little bit of something left in the tank to really make a
Yeah.
run at trying to make some more postseason appearances and make some more deep playoff runs. Like I said beforehand, Draymond is clicking on the defensive end, and that's the one thing that I think is going to stick for him his entire career. Jordan Poole is a huge X factor for them because the offensive output that he gives is something that we've seen be something that puts the Golden State Warriors off the top. He's the wild card, but I think that, like you said, bro, especially at that 5th seed, bro, I think they would love to get a top 4 seed just because of their home record,
Yeah.
especially when you look at the
Yeah.
circumstances. I mean, we got to remember, I think Golden State's like 7-26 or something around that number in terms of their road record this season. They would definitely love to be a team with home court advantage in the postseason, at least
Yeah.
for the first round, if not the first round or two. But I just think once it comes down to a 7-game series, they're a team that you just are not gonna feel comfortable having to see.
Yeah, they're 7-24 on the road.
Good
Very
God, man.
good
Like that's
goodness.
insane,
Yeah.
bro.
But here's the thing about the Golden State Warriors, and this is something that I think like really like kind of puts like that kind of narrative to rest for me. And each of the series that they have won, they have at least won one road playoff game.
True.
They've won at least one road playoff game. In every series they've won, ever dating back to the 2014-2015 season where they won the championship, they at least have won one game. And that's all they really need. That's all they really need. And with the way both of our standings are set up, with the Memphis Grizzlies at number 4, oh, that is the type of team that they want to see in the first round. That is
Mm.
exactly the type of team. Because the Grizzlies did not have an answer for Steph or that team in general last year. I mean, I think that was a team that freaking in the first 3 games that Jordan Poole absolutely destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies. And then now, I think the biggest difference between last year and this year, and I think why I'm still just as confident, Klay Thompson has finally got his legs back under him offensively. Offensively, I think that he's back. I think he's good offensively nowadays. I think like his 3-point shooting is just as lethal. I mean, he's had like I think 2 games like over the past like 3 weeks where he's had like 12 plus 3-pointers, which is absolutely ridiculous. But he's back to like getting to his shooting self. The defense might not be there from pre-injury because we knew that Klay Thompson was an all defense type player, but he's still going to give you what you can on the offensive end. But the question is going to be Andrew Wiggins. That is the biggest question because Draymond Green, as much as he can do on the defensive end, Andrew Wiggins was the dark horse, the X factor last year as to why they were able to move like so far forward. His offensive ability, he could still give you 15 a game. The defense is what really took the step up, and his rebounding. There's not many good big men that over there in Golden State. They are gonna face some pretty big like in terms of like some like big time like rebounders there on their road to another finals appearance if they do continue to do so. Wiggins needs to be a part of that lineup, and he needs to have like a pretty similar impact to last year if they want anything to do with going back to the NBA Finals. But moving on, number 7 to 10. This is where it gets really interesting because whoever you put here can make it. You can make an argument that they can make it to the top 8. But Jay, who do you go off 7 to 10?
All right, TV. So at 7, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 8, I have the LA Clippers. And TV, the last two, I might just be losing my mind. I just might have too much faith in superstars, TV.
Yeah.
But at 9, I have the Los Angeles Lakers, and at
Ooh.
10, I have the Portland Trailblazers.
Wow, that is interesting. Wow. Okay. That is okay. We have a little things different. That's good. That's good. Okay, my 7 to 10. I got the Clippers at number 7, the Timberwolves at number 8. I have the Lakers at number 9 as well, but the Pelicans remain in there. I have them at number 10. Oh man, you can really the thing about this 4 teams is that they all have so much. Like, I'm not gonna say like they have so much to lose, but each of these teams have expectations to get there. So and not all of them can get in. So 2 of them are gonna have to come out. Before we talk about any of the other teams, Jay, who do you have the 2 coming out of the play in?
Oh man, that's where things get extremely tough. And I gotta be honest, this is where matchups are huge. And I got the Clippers and the Lakers, bro.
The Clippers. Wow, the Clippers and the
Yeah.
Lakers to get in.
Look, bro, I just think the truth, man, it's so insane because I remember we had this conversation about like what's the belief in the Lakers in terms of being able to make the postseason. And I was like, there's no way. And you kept telling me like there's a chance, bro. Like I'm telling you, the way the standings are set up, like they can put themselves in real position. And then of course the news with LeBron James missing the next 3 weeks obviously comes out, and that's huge as well in terms of impacting their stance on the standings. But TV, it's just like think about all the things that have happened with the Lakers this season. They come in this season, Lakers fans are still pissed about the roster being set up with Russell Westbrook still on the team. LeBron James and Anthony Davis both are trading time off the floor due to injury. Russell Westbrook is getting 6th man of the year consideration, but nobody genuinely believes he's a 6th man of the year candidate. Then you get to the big trade that involves D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley. And LeBron James doesn't even play the first game after the trade deadline, something we never see because LeBron James is usually excited out of his mind after trade deadline. LeBron James passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, only to miss time due to injury following that game. Now, they are still, we look at the circumstances now with Anthony Davis on the floor back from his injury. They are currently 31 and 34, which is literally 2 games back of both the Clippers and the Mavericks for the 7/8 spot, and 2.5 games back of the Minnesota Timberwolves up at 6. So you mean to tell me that despite everything that has happened from top to bottom, from beginning to end for the Lakers, all the melodrama involved, this team still has a chance to make the postseason? It's insane that it's even a conversation to have. So to then know that LeBron James could come potentially just in time to make that final last week or 2 push, and Anthony Davis has dropped like 30 plus points in his last 2 outings, This team that now makes sense from a roster construction standpoint just might be good enough to make the postseason. And then when they get in a 7-game series, might arguably have 2 of the top 5 players in any series they go into. It just seems like it's written for them to make the postseason, despite the fact that everything to this point says they should not be in. It's crazy, bro. That's why I have to pick them. They've basically been defying odds since the beginning of the year, since the literal first tip-off of the season. No one thought this team was good enough or built to make a run at the postseason. Yet here we are with only a month and some change left before the season is going to be over. And the Lakers are still within striking distance with teams like the Jazz, who clearly don't want to make the playoffs, the Pelicans, who can't keep Zion on the floor, the Clippers, who are like 0-4 with Russell Westbrook on their team so far.
They got 1-1. They finally got a win yesterday.
1-4. Yeah, 1-4. That's right. They did win recently. 1-4 in their time frame with Russell Westbrook so far. And the Dallas Mavericks, who again are trying to make things work between Luka and Kyrie, which does have some growing pains involved. They are still positioned to make the postseason. So it just seems like the stars are aligning. The writing is on the wall. They got to make the postseason. If they make it 7 or 8, that's the real question. I have them at 7 because of the circumstances. Based on my seeding, I guess, based on my seeding, they would face the Trailblazers in the first round of the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
And then they would face the Timberwolves in the second round of the play-in tournament because I have the Clippers beating the Timberwolves in that first matchup.
Yeah.
And I think that the Lakers, also including the fact that there's a couple former Timberwolves teammates now on that team, I think the Timberwolves are not going to be good enough to beat the Lakers if LeBron James is healthy for the play-in tournament. So there you go. That's the write-up that says, geez, they're going to make the postseason.
This is so tough.
Nasty,
this
bro.
is
It's
tough.
gross.
This is tough. I had the Clippers making it. I'll say that. I had the Clippers making it. And I was trying so hard to convince myself that the Timberwolves were going to make it. I was trying very hard. But you convinced me the Lakers are going to get in. You convinced me the Lakers are going to get in.
Because listen, bro, I'm gonna credit you first, because as much as you're saying that I convinced you, you convinced me. I listened back to our clip from that segment where we were talking about just the idea of like what the heck the Lakers have left to give, right? In terms of this season. And the thing that I just kept coming back to was, we're still talking about this team?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. We're this late in the year. Everything has fallen apart for them left and right, whether it's Braun, Russ's fit, Anthony Davis, whether or not people believe that the coaching is really working, the construction of the team, put Rob Pelinka's head on a stake. Everything is there that says the Lakers should not even be in this conversation. Yet here we are. And that's exactly the kind of mentality that made me believe, like, wait a minute. Now they're competent.
Yeah.
And they're still this close.
Yeah. And LeBron's going to be back soon. He'll be back in a couple of weeks or so. And I think that's also like a big reason as to why I have them going forward, is because when you have LeBron James and you have one playing game, he's going to find a way. He's going to find a way. And I just think that is the case for the two teams that I'm saying they're going to make it in, the Clippers and the Lakers. You have Kawhi Leonard. You have LeBron James. Those two guys alone, I think, are just going to be just like, you know what? Forget all this. We need to get there. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter how ugly it looks. We are going to put them over the top. And I just trust those two the most out of all of them and out of the four teams I have there. The Pelicans, I tried making a case for too, but man, the injuries to Alvarado this week, Larry Nance Jr. We still don't know what's happening with Zion. There's just way too many question marks that I can't make an excuse for them. And then the Timberwolves, I wanted, just because of their last win against the Clippers, I wanted to convince myself that maybe they have a chance. But the Clippers are going to tear apart that two center lineup, man. By the time the playoffs come around, they're going to destroy that two center lineup. So if it comes down to Timberwolves versus Lakers for the final play-in spot, I'm taking the Lakers if LeBron James is healthy. So yeah, give me the Lakers in that position. Oh boy, like you said, they should not be in this conversation, but they're still here. So it feels like it's like right there for the taking. They have the chance. And let's not forget. Let's also not forget D'Angelo Russell has barely played for this team still.
Right.
So if he's back there too, giving them a good 15 to 18 points a game, I think with the quality of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, that should be enough to get them at least a playoff spot. Now they may have to face the Denver Nuggets, but we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to cross that bridge when we get there. But yes, I do have both LA teams, the Clippers and the Lakers. Let us know down below what you guys think. Do you guys think that do we have any teams that we're missing? Any teams that are we too high on the Lakers? Maybe that's the case too. Let us know down below as well. Give us your thoughts on our standings for the Eastern Conference. Now let's move on to the next portion of this episode. And it is the time for the NBA draft, our weekly NBA draft. And this one, it's not really like this one, like we usually do, like the last few drafts have been around kind of current day players, kind of like these sort of things. We're expanding 50 years with this NBA draft idea. So the way we're gonna draft it, and again, Jay will get the first overall pick, is we're gonna be drafting a player, one person per decade. So we have the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, but we cannot duplicate their players, so we can't have different versions of the players. And once we get a player from a certain franchise, they are no longer available. So that kind of limits our pool once we go down through each of the teams. But it's going to be really good to kind of like go back to see who can make the best lineup out of players from the last 50 years or so. It's going to be really, really good. And again, at the end of it, we're going to explain our teams, and we're going to give you guys the opportunities to let us know whose team is better, who drafted better between me and Jay. But without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to you, Jay. You got the idea of the draft? You got it?
Yeah, man. I'm cinched in. I'm looking at my list right now, trying to be locked in, bro. You said one player from each decade, so I'm trying to make sure that I got my starting five feeling good. So I think I'm there.
All right. So, like I said, I'm gonna give you the first overall pick. Who are you gonna draft first?
So with the first overall pick, I'm going to the 1990s, and I am going to grab the GOAT out the gate. Give me Michael Jordan for 1990s.
Of course, the Bulls fans gonna go with MJ, number one overall pick, and then that was extremely expected and completely valid as well. Michael Jordan absolutely dominated the 90s. I think it's only right for me to go with his perfect counterpart. Let's go with 2010's LeBron James at the 3. If you think about the best version of LeBron James, return to Cleveland LeBron James, Miami Heat LeBron James. I get kind of I have to pick a team though. I have to pick a team from which you know what? I'm gonna take the Heat off the board. I'm gonna take the Heat off the board for this one.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna take the Heat off the board because you took the Bulls off the board. I'll take the Heat off the board. I'll take Miami Heat LeBron James. I mean, that is like kind of the best LeBron James in terms of all-around game, the passing, the scoring, the athleticism, everything about LeBron was the best when he was on the Miami Heat, winning 2 championships with that team. Give me that version of LeBron, 2010s, for my small forward position.
All right, TV. Well, I'm gonna go back a couple of years now, and I'm gonna knock out my 1980s player.
Ooh, okay.
And I gotta grab the man who played every position in the NBA. Give me Irvin Magic Johnson for my 1980s player.
Nice, very, very good pick. He definitely was going to be my first one, and that kind of sucks too because that takes off the entire Lakers. So any Lakers, we're not going to see any more Kobe's. We're not going to see any more. We can't get like the later version of Shaq, so that is unfortunate. But he is going with Magic Johnson. Very, very nice pick. Again, I think I'm going to go with the perfect counterpart because I want to get my 80s out the way as well. This guy can both play the 3 and the 4. And, man, one of the best shooters back in the day. Give me Larry Legend. I'm going to take off the Boston Celtics. Give me Larry Bird at my 4 position. Underrated rebounder, too, man. Underrated rebounder Larry Bird was. Multiple-time MVP. Him and Magic had so many duels. It's only right to have them face against each other in this draft. So, give me Larry Bird at the 4.
Oh, man. Okay, now We have to make sure. We have to
Yeah,
factor in one, the Celtics are out, the Lakers are out, the Bulls are out. That's huge.
it's massive.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna be weird here. I'm gonna be
Okay.
weird here. Give me. Let's go 2000, 2010s. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's go
2010.
2010s. Give me nah. Give me 2000s. Give me
Yeah.
2000s Orlando Magic Dwight Howard.
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had to make
no,
sure I got the year right. That's the most
no.
important thing.
Oh, I just
Uh
realized you took the Magic. No. Oh gosh. That-
yeah.
That's that's a good pick. Dwight Howard, probably the best. Yeah, he's like besides Shaq, he had to be the best like big man of the 2000s, the best center from that era. So that was definitely a good pick. Oh man, that
Had to cross you off there. TV had to cut
I
you off. Got
know.
tic-tac-toe style there, my boy.
I know. I was gonna go with 90s Shaq too. God damn it. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. So I can't even do that. Uh, this is a tough one. This is absolutely tough because now that the Magic are off the board, who do I go with here? Because I still have so I got my 80s and my 2010 stuff. So I have a 2000s, 2020s, and a 90s player. The 90s one kind of worries me, but I think I can hold off till later, or I can go kind of weird. I could go kind of weird. Uh, this is tough. Oh, this is really tough. Okay, give me for my. You're going up against Dwight Howard. You know what? Forget it. Give me 2020s Nikola Jokic.
Oh, that's dirt. Ooh,
The
God, that's
20
dirty.
2020s
Ooh.
Nikola Jokic. It might be tough against Dwight, but Dwight wasn't the best, offensive player in the world. And Jokic is going to take him out the paint. I think he's still, again, one of the best offensive big men of all time. Get my 2020s out the way. Give me, I'm going to say right now, the 3-time MVP. Give me Nikola Jokic at the center position.
Crazy matchup too, because we're talking about three-time DPOY Dwight Howard versus like the three-time MVP, one of the best, if not the best, offensive center in NBA basketball. So like that is one crazy matchup between two of the best centers,
Yeah.
arguably in NBA history. Good God, man.
Well, I'm bringing Dwight out the paint, so he's going to be less effective. So let's
Yeah,
keep it that way. We'll
we'll
see.
see, but I definitely would look forward to the matchup. TV,
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and get my 2010s now. I'm gonna go ahead. I've been picking long boys all shift. We're gonna grab one more. Give me 2010s Oklahoma City Thunder
Uh,
Kevin Durant.
ooh, that is a damn good pull right there. That is very good. Kevin Durant at the small forward position.
Yes,
You know what?
sir.
Oh, looking back. Oh man. Okay, this is. I'm put in a tough position now. Oh boy. Um, who do I got left? I have a 2000s. I got 2000s. I have a 2010. I have a 2000 spot and a 90 spot. Oh boy.
Mm.
I just realized. I don't know if I can go back on this. I'm gonna pull it by you. Can I switch my LeBron, my 2010s LeBron with a 2000s LeBron?
Sure, that's fair.
That's fair. Okay. You know what? Okay, now I need a point guard and a shooting guard. You know what? That's completely fine by me. Give me 2000s Chris Paul. 2000
That's a sneaky one. Oh my
2000.
god.
Actually, wait, do I go 2000s Chris Paul? This is a tough. Oh boy, I just realized because I still have like my 90s player next, and I think that's kind of like, or do I go with my 90s player now? Because I got no, I can't do actually no. I said LeBron for 2000. What am I doing? Actually, give me 90s. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back to the 90s. Give me 90s Gary Payton.
Interesting.
90s
Okay.
Payton. Whoever you got at that point guard position, I just need someone to guard that well, and he was a pretty damn good offensive player as well. So give me 90s Gary Payton. I need some defense on that perimeter.
All right, man. With my last pick, I'm keeping the long boy theme for this
Actually,
selection.
wait, I have a quick question too. I just realized this because you took 2010's KD. Does that eliminate Supersonics? Oh
Huh?
man,
Nah, 2010.
Not,
Nah, that's not. Nah, that doesn't count. That would 2020. Wait, because that's '09, right? That's like '08, '09,
actually
right?
no. Oh, no. Which version of KD are you getting? The
Because I took
Thunder one?
Oklahoma City
City.
KD.
Oh, wait.
So I
Wait,
don't think that counts.
uh, wait. If you're taking Oklahoma City KD, wait. What am I doing? 2010 Steph. Okay, forget that. 2010 Steph. Give me 2010 Steph.
2010
2010
Steph.
Steph. Wait, what am I? I just clocked that. I'm like, wait. 2010 Steph is still available. Give me 2010 Steph. Forget that.
I was kind of shocked he didn't come off the list, so I was gonna see what the
Yeah.
what the circumstances were.
But, oh, this whole decade thing kind of threw me off. So I was just like, okay, 2010 Steph. I'll go with 2010 Steph.
For me, the last guy that I'm going to go with, I'm sticking with the long boy theme. I do not care about spacing. I just like buckets and defense. Give me 2020's Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh man, Giannis Antetokounmpo for the 2020s. That's a damn good pick. That is.
We are playing ancient history, pound the paint basketball, but guess what? We have Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan as two of the better mid-range shooters in the NBA. We've got versatility, we've got defense. We're here, man. We're here.
That is a very good pick. Now I gotta go with my guard. And for this guard position, it's the 90s. The thing is, like, once you get past like the shooting guard position for the 90s, it's Jordan or bust at that point. It's Jordan or bust at that point. So I'm either gonna be really sneaky about it and just play some like super small lineup, or not. I will go with looking down up and down my list. I'm not very confident in any of these picks really, but I guess I'm gonna go with Jordan Light. I'll go Jordan 2.0. Give me Clyde Drexler for the two guard. I gotta go Clyde Drexler for that position. Do I? Am I even confident in that pick? I really kind of messed myself with the decades here. I gotta go with 90s Clyde Drexler. I don't care. Let me get my team is full offense. Oh boy, I'm not making a good argument for my team right now, but yeah, let me go with 90s Clyde Drexler. Jay, we both drafted our teams. Tell me who you got on yours.
All right, man. So for the all decades draft team, my 5 picks are in the 1980s, Magic Johnson; for the 1990s, Michael Jordan; for the 2000s, Orlando Magic, Dwight Howard; in the 2010s, Oklahoma City Thunder, Kevin Durant; and for the 2020s, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Well, you said you don't have spacing. Well, my team's gonna freaking chuck up shots left, right, and center. Give me 2010 Steph Curry at the 1, 90s Clyde Drexler at the 2, the 2000s LeBron James at the 3. Oh, give me that Cleveland LeBron. He was a beast back in the day. Give me 80s Larry Bird at the 4, and then give me the 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic at the 5. It's no defense, all vibes. Let's go. All vibes. We're gonna pass the ball constantly. Yo, forget your defense. My team is gonna pass the ball so much you're not gonna know where the ball is.
Oh my God, bro. Our teams could not be more opposite in terms of design, but I also think the most hilarious part is your team is so much more modern than mine.
Yeah.
But my team is so like old, but it's weird. My team is old body, but is designed like a small ball / long boy team, but we have no shooting for real. Versus your team is much smaller, but you've got mad shooting all across the board.
Oh,
it's gonna be interesting to see how the comments mess with this one.
Oh boy, yeah, 2 very different teams. Let us know down below what you guys think. Who has won this draft, Team TV or Team J? I have a feeling where it's gonna go, but guys, remember, offense wins basketball games. Who's gonna shoot on his team, huh? Who's gonna shoot? Giannis ain't gonna shoot. Dwight's not gonna shoot. Michael ain't shooting threes. We're gonna load up on KD. Forget that. Okay. All right. Moving on to the final topic of the show. We're gonna be doing TV's NBA quiz. You know how this goes. We do this weekly. And I have another fantastic quiz for Jay today. So for this quiz, plain and simple. I had a theme for each of mine, but this one we're gonna be looking back at the number one overall picks. And Jay, we're gonna see how many of the number one overall picks you can remember since the year 2000. Let's see if you can try to
Oh
see
Lord.
how many you can get. Again, I'll give you hints. Obviously, you're not gonna remember every single one of them, but we're gonna try and see how many you can go for. How do you want to do this? You want to do this like going backwards? You want me to tell you the year and try to do that, or you want to just try to like free play it?
You're saying from the year 2000, right?
Yeah, so 2000s to 2022. So do you want me to go like, you know what? Let's have some structure to this. Let's go backwards. So
Okay.
let's start with 2022. Who was the number one pick in 2022?
Okay. So we're talking about. So
Last year.
We're talking about last season.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute. Let's make sure we detail process. Oh yeah, Cade Cunningham's been hurt.
Nope.
That's.
Yeah. No. Well, no. We like this past year. So like.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my fault. My fault. My
Yeah.
fault. My fault.
Yeah.
Okay. Then in that case, oh my gosh! Shout out to this class. Jesus Christ. Paulo Banchero is
How
number
about Carroll?
one.
How about Carroll for 2022? You already mentioned 2021, which is Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
Year 2000s. 2020. Sorry, 2020. 2020.
2020. Oh dang. Okay, I just want to make sure I got these. I gotta make sure I got these locked in. 2020s or 2020.
Yeah.
Dang, it should be more straightforward, but like the
Yeah.
rookie classes have just been so weird, like as of recent.
He didn't
Is
win Rookie of the Year. He didn't win Rookie of the Year, but he did make an All-Star team this year.
okay, that's the Anthony Edwards
Yeah.
draft, right?
Anthony
Okay,
Edwards.
okay. See, that's the main thing. I like the COVID year like made
Yeah.
everything so weird in terms of making sure that okay.
Okay, there you go. So Anthony Edwards 2020, 2019.
2019. Oh man. What even was that class?
This guy was like
Okay.
probably the best number one pick since LeBron, kind of the most hyped up number one pick since LeBron.
Okay, see, that's the thing. I'm terrible with years, but I know these players. Okay, that's the Zion draft, right?
Zion Williamson
Okay,
2019.
cool. Got you,
Tw-
got you.
2018.
This isn't Ben Simmons, right? Or is it?
Nope, it isn't. It isn't.
Ben Simmons, that's 27.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah,
2018.
we'll get there.
2018. Let's say this. We know it should have been Luka. We know it should have been Luka this
Oh
year.
Jesus! Oh my God! What the heck? That's okay. That's the quote unquote best draft class ever, right? That's DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton 2018.
Right.
2017.
2017.
I'll tell you now, it's not Ben Simmons.
It's
But
Markel Fultz draft.
Yep. This was the Markel Fultz draft.
Yes.
2017.
Oh man, that's why. Okay.
And then 2016. That means
that's the Ben Simmons one.
Ben Simmons. 2015. 2015.
Is that Cat?
Carl Anthony Towns at 2015. Let's go.
Okay.
20
Greece now.
2014. Now you're finally getting your flow. 2014.
Ooh, 2014 that's the Boo Boo draft, right? No. That's not the
one yet. That's not the one yet.
It's yeah. We're getting there though.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 2014 number one overall pick.
This guy played with Cat like this guy got traded immediately.
Oh yeah. Andrew Wiggins.
2014.
That was the year I was so hype about him and Jabari Parker.
Yeah.
Wow. That just gave me weird flashbacks. Don't even get me started on that.
Oh, no, let's not.
Okay.
Don't worry. We don't have to talk about Jabari Parker.
Oh my God, bro. I was so hyped for that man that year too, bro. Seriously.
Yeah. Don't worry. Freaking Joel Embiid came out of that draft, and we know how he's become. So 2013, you're already hinting at it. We already know.
God, that's the Anthony Bennett draft. Good God Almighty.
Anthony Bennett at 2013. 2012.
Ooh, wee. 12.
An NBA 75 player. We talked a lot about his team in this episode, actually, and their hopes to make the playoffs.
What? Wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna look at teams. I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna look at teams. Give me a second.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not Dame. I already know
It
that.
was same like place in the standings, like same around the same in the standings.
Oh, what the
2012
heck? In the West? Wait, in the
in the
West?
West, yeah, in the West, yeah.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis for 2012, 2011,
Oh my God.
2011.
2011. Who picked in 2011?
The Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that gives
Okay,
you
Kyrie. There you go.
Kyrie Irving. Yes, Kyrie Irving for
That's
2011.
one of those years that was like Kyrie played like 9 games in college that year.
Yeah,
That was like one of those where he was just like consensusly the best player in that draft. So he was
yeah,
just that guy. Yeah,
yeah. It was the same thing with Ben Simmons. I think he only played like 7 or 8 games for
yeah, yeah.
LSU.
That's
Yeah,
insane cases.
yeah. 2010, another Kentucky boy, who got drafted in 2010, first overall pick. He was in
Cousins?
Nope. He was same draft as Cousins though.
John
Was
Wall?
Yep, John Wall,
I was about to
2010.
say, yeah. I was gonna say it was either one of those two.
Yep.
Oh, Cousins should have went first. That's what it was.
Yeah, he went fifth in that draft
Yeah.
for the Sacramento Kings. 2009.
Oh no. Oh. Oh.
I'll say this: him, Ben Simmons, and like they both had to like have like very similar cases for one day for their start of their careers. Same thing with Joel Embiid too, in a sense. Like, they had very similar starts to their career.
Oh, what the heck? Okay, I wasn't expecting that one.
I'm trying to.
Um.
I mean, there are hints I can make it very easy, but I'm trying to make this like so it's like you could like maybe like take it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's just that the injury history thing is tough though. This is 2010.
2009.
2009. Oh, we're in 2009 now. Okay.
This is a Steph Curry draft. DeMar was drafted here. But this guy went number one, and man, this guy was one of the most fun players to watch. I'm telling you, at least for us growing up, for sure, one of the most fun players.
Oh crap. Okay. Wait. Now I feel obligated to get this. What the heck? Um, the Steph Curry draft.
I'm
Oh
t-
my!
I, his
Some
team never
players that went that shouldn't
his
have been there.
his team never made it to the conference finals, but man, his team was like a joy to watch, even though they had literally no playoff success.
Oh my gosh. Dude, the minute you said one of the most exciting players to watch in this draft class, I'm like, dude.
Well, Steph Curry was known for threes. This guy was like,
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind.
yeah,
No, it's Blake Griffin because
Blake Griffin.
I remember he got taken out of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
People, I remember the infamous story that Skip Bayless said that he thought Steph Curry should have been taken over Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was just a dunker, this and the third.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're back. I think we're back.
Okay,
We're
sure.
back.
Okay. If you don't get 2008 right away, I'm gonna be ashamed of you. 2008.
It's Derrick Rose, right?
There you go. Derrick
Okay,
Rose.
like
Let's
wait
move
a minute.
past.
Yeah. Some of these I gotta get my locked in. Come on.
Okay. 2007.
Ooh.
Poor guy. He never even really got a chance.
We're not too early. This is Greg Oden, right?
This is Greg.
Okay, I was gonna say we're not too early.
Okay. 2006. This guy has a close place in my heart. I always remember. I always remember this guy. 2006. I have fond memories of this man. Very fond memories. We should have won LaMarcus Aldridge. I'll say that. We should have won LaMarcus Aldridge. Oh boy.
Oh crap! Wait a minute. That draft is nasty because that we also should have had LaMarcus Aldridge. I just don't want to talk about it. Oh
yeah. You guys got Tyrese Thomas.
yeah. We didn't come out too great on that end either. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. This guy wasn't. I mean, I would say this guy wasn't horrible, but he was also not good. He was not a good player.
This is for Toronto?
Yep.
Oh shit.
He's international. I don't even know. He's a name that you'll definitely forget, but like he was touted.
Oh my God, I feel like I know his name, but I don't know his. It's the center, right?
The Italian guy. Yep. He's
Oh
Italian.
my God, I know his name, but give me like 30 seconds. Now it's
No,
gonna
no.
make me mad if I can't get his. I gotta get his
He's
pronunciation right.
it's the next Dirk Nowitzki, the guy.
Oh my God.
The next Dirk Nowitzki. Oh my god! I can't believe people were so obsessed with trying to find the next Dirk, and they just ended up just picking people who doesn't even want to rebound.
Yeah, there it is. Andrea Bargnani. Yeah,
Barney,
that's the name. I'm like,
that's
it's gonna bug the crap out of me, but I remember him mainly for like his weird stint with the Knicks. That's why I was sitting there like,
oh
wait
my
a minute.
gosh, yeah.
That's why I was like, wait a minute. I can't remember this dude's name, but I just remember the minute you said Toronto, I was like, what? Because you guys usually don't get the pick at the top of the
No,
draft. And I'm like, wait a minute. Should have got LaMarcus. Okay, now I'm remembering like this
yeah.
dude's a big man, but I could not remember for the life of me. Yeah.
Yeah, the most memorable thing he did on the Raptors, I loved his. We have a thing here in Toronto called Primo Pasta.
Mm.
This guy had the best Primo Pasta commercials.
Oh
Absolutely
my
loved.
gosh.
Absolutely loved them growing up. Next player, 2005, another international guy. Solid for he was a key part to a dynasty in the late 2010s. Oh, he's like he was part of a great dynasty.
Ooh.
He is international. He let's see, what are some things you remember about this guy? He's a center. I don't know if this will help you, but he was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, but he had a big impact on a championship team.
Oh, what the heck? The Milwaukee Bucks drafted him. Okay.
Um, he's best known. I mean, he did make I think like one All NBA team in his career, but he was most known for like being like one of the better role players. For the Golden State Warriors actually. Played some key.
What the
Played,
heck?
played a key role.
That's not Chris Webber.
Nope. No. I mean like
Yeah.
the late. I mean like this like I'm part of this like dynasty Golden State Warriors. Like I think he retired in like 2018, 2019. But
Okay.
he was a big part of that 2015 Golden State Warriors championship team. A massive part of that team.
What the heck?
He's played center for that team as well.
Ew, man. This is making me so mad that I like don't. Okay. Let's get in bag mode. You said he played for the Golden State Warriors. Okay. This is Bogut.
Andrew Bogut. I was gonna say from Australia.
Yeah, you said foreign big man, Milwaukee, played for Golden State. I'm like, okay, wait.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. 2004. All I'm gonna say for this guy is he was drafted out of high school. And
come on now. No. I drafted him. Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight Howard, 2004, yeah. 2003.
Yeah, LeBron
James, 2002. Another foreign big man.
I know. Yeah. I feel like for some reason this is gonna come up a lot. Is this? Is this Yao?
It is Yao Ming.
Whoa,
2002.
That's crazy. Oh my god.
Oh my god. I just found. Oh, this is hilarious. You know how he actually played for the Shanghai Sharks? Look at that.
No, that's
that's
fucking horrible.
He got drafted before he joined the NBA. He played for the Shanghai Sharks. Look
that's
at
tough.
See, that's Ben Simmons, yo, all Ben Simmons needs to do is play for Shanghai and then come back, yo. He's Gucci.
That's brutal. That's brutal, bro. Oh my god.
2001. Oh, 2001. One of the biggest memes in NBA history.
By all the laughing, I know it's bad. The question is, I'm just trying to make sure I got the person right.
What a guy.
Oh, is this Kwame?
Kwame Brown.
Yeah, it felt like we were getting to that point where it's like, come on, man, the Stephen A. bit was coming, but I just was trying to figure out what year it was.
Kwame Brown, drafted first overall by the Washington Wizards. At the time, they had Michael Jordan too. Oh boy,
bro,
what an era! What an era for the 2000s. This might be the hardest one. 2000s first overall pick. I mean, he was a solid player. His son is in the league though. His son is in the league right now.
Give me his last team.
The last team he played for?
Yeah, I don't want you to give me the team he was drafted by, because then that might narrow it down.
Okay, he played last. For the, I'll give you the most like at least okay. He played a couple games for the Bucks, but his he played like his final 2 seasons before the Bucks with the Knicks.
With the Knicks?
Yep.
Oh my lord. Holy cow. 2000s Rookie of the Year, Kenyon Martin.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Kenyon Martin, 2000.
I don't know why I remember Knicks, but the thing was, you also did say Sun in the league, so that does kind of narrow it down, obviously, at that point. But yeah, Kenyon Martin was pretty dang good out the gate.
Yeah, no, he was a solid player though. He was definitely a solid player.
He was good with the Nuggets for a good little amount of time as well. Yeah.
No, he
Kenyon
was
solid.
He played in the CBA like in the middle of his NBA career too. He played for the Xinjiang Flying Tigers in 2011 before returning back to the NBA.
Hey, go chase your bag, man.
Go chase your bag. Yeah, so those are all the number 1 overall picks since the year 2000. Let us know if what other quizzes you want us to do.
God, that was crazy.
Yeah, just looking through just all these other guys. Oh man. It was nice to include Andrea Bargnani in this podcast. Absolutely love to hear it. But yeah, that was the quiz. Let us know down below if you have any other quizzes in mind. But this is the end of another episode, man. Thank you all for watching or listening. Jay, anything to sign these guys off on before we head out?
Man, these quizzes are getting harder, but they're super fun. The funny part about it was, TV, with that quiz, man, I don't even think it was the names were hard. I think I was just associating the year, man. There's some guys that just popped up on this list that it's like, wow, they played in the NBA for a long time. Like, it was a couple of names that popped up where it was like, oh, man, some of these dudes are still kind of recent. You know what I mean? So I definitely love the NBA quizzes. Dude, I am super intrigued to see how the standings end out. Both of us made some interesting cases for the teams that we picked, but it's going to be super interesting to see how the end of this season shakes out, because especially in that Western Conference, man, I'm telling you, it feels like it's anybody's game down there in the bottom 4 to 5.
Oh boy, yeah, no, the East play tournament's going to be, I don't think it's going to be that really watchable, but the West playing games are going to be must-watch TV. Yeah. And we're going to be all ready for that. We're ready for the end of the season. More content coming out for you guys, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And you can find out all out by following the Hit Your Free Throws socials, Instagram, TikTok, all the good stuff. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channels, hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. Come on, guys. Come on. We got to get these numbers up, get ready for the NBA playoffs, and just get ready for a whole bunch of new content coming soon around the playoff time, coming up for the playoffs. So be on the lookout for that, and you can only find all that out if you're following us and checking us out. But yeah, and have another great episode. Thank you guys for watching or listening. This is TV, my co-host Jay signing out. Hit Your Free This podcast. Catch us again next week. Have a great day, y'all. Peace.